We're going to talk a little bit today about microbits. What is a microbit? Well, a microbit is this thing right here. And it's a little computerized device. And on it, you've got a bank of LEDs right here that light up. And also, you've got a few buttons. There's a button here and there's a button here. And there's a button on the back as well. You can also plug that in using USB, and you can also plug in some battery power as well. You can also attach little alligator clips to the bottom here to power other devices as well. So what can we do on this thing? Well, you can program it to play games, and you can also program it to do little tasks. Well, it can also be used as a step counter. It can also be used to power a motion sensor. It can also be used to power a moisture sensor in a plant. You can do all sorts of great things with it. You can play rock, paper, scissors with it if you want. In order to get this thing to work, we need to use some code or some language in order to get this thing to work. This thing can do a lot of great things, but unless you give it the right instruction, it's not going to do anything. And that's where the language of Python comes in. The language of Python is just like learning English, or it's like learning French or another language, where it has rules in terms of what you can say and how you can say it. And also those rules need to be given directly to this thing so that it can work out what you're trying to tell it to do. So let's talk about Python and how to get this thing to do its job. So let's take a look at Python. Let's take a look at what this language looks like and what it means. Python uses plain English, and therefore it's pretty relatively easy to understand. But there are some rules in terms of how you type this stuff in so that a computer can understand it. Take into account that the microbit or an iPhone or a computer or anything like that just does not understand anything unless it's told to it the right way and in the correct sequence of events. It's going to handle each event or each task starting at number 1 and going right through until the end in that order, unless you tell it otherwise. For the microbit to do anything, it needs to have some knowledge put into its head. So that's what this top line here means. From microbit, import star, and the star just means import everything. Microbit is a set of programs or a set of commands that we can then draw from to make this thing work. Instead of picking specific ones, we just load everything into it and then we can cherry pick what we want to use. So we start off by saying from microbit, import everything. And the star means everything. And then what we're going to do is we're going to tell it to display an image of a rabbit. So the command there is display.show, and then in brackets, image with a capital I, the capitals are important, .rabbit with big capital letters, close brackets. Once we type that in, we can run the code and it will show you on the screen here in our Microbit simulator a picture of a rabbit. Come over to this screen here and we type that in and then we run it and it should show us a rabbit. Now, in order for us to change it, so you don't want a rabbit, you want something else, you can choose a number of different animals. And in this case, it wants us to choose a snake. So we change this code to say snake in capital letters. And then when we run that, it'll show us a picture of a snake. These are the choices of animals that you get to use using this set of commands. Rabbit, cow, duck, tortoise, butterfly, giraffe, and snake. And so this one I've typed in here, I'm choosing to use the duck. And there is the picture of my duck. While we're working from home, if you don't have a microbit to use, that doesn't matter. This simulator on the screen here is all you need for the moment. It's all about learning the language of Python to start with. If you have a microbit to work with, plug it in using USB and you can download this program to your device and it will work. Moving right along, we can also show other images such as emotions. And in this case, what we're trying to do is we're going to say when we push the button A, which is this button here, it's going to create for us the image. Previously, when we ran a program, all it would do is it would just show the image. Now what we want to do is make it more interactive for you and other users so that when you push a button, it's then going to show the image you want. In this case, from Microbit, import everything, and we use an if statement. And an if statement is kind of similar to the sort of thing that your parents have been saying to you since you were little, where your parents would say, if you don't eat your vegetables, you can't have dessert. Same thing with a computer. If you push button A, then show me a picture of a happy face. Now, as we haven't told it what button B is going to do, you can push button B and nothing will happen. The microbit needs to know what it's doing before anything can happen to it. And at the moment, you haven't told it that button B is going to be used. It's only button A. So if button A is pressed, so while it's pressed, show the image happy. So when I run that, and nothing's showing, but when I push the button A, nothing happens. And the reason that nothing's going to happen is because we haven't put in a loop. So basically what happened there was the code just ran, but it ran so quickly we didn't have time to push a button to get it to work. It just ran and then it stopped. What we need to do now is you need to put in an infinite loop, and an infinite loop means it's just going to keep going and going and going and going and going until such times as there is no power to the device to run it. So we put in there while true, if button A is pressed, bracket, bracket, colon, display.show image happy. So when we run that now, I should be able to go over to here and push my button, and there is my happy face. Give that a crack, and I'll post another video a little bit later.